What is it that we're doing today to make a difference in the way that we behave and comport ourselves as we move through these incredibly challenging and somewhat interesting times? And many people choose to see the world as half the cup empty, or half, or partly cloudy. And I hear a lot of negativity and people that are unable to rise above the waves and maybe go beneath the waves into a calm space and make a decision to do the right thing, and decide to be those that are going to be difference makers. What does a different maker do? A different maker never looks at an obstacle as a end all be all to their lives. And a difference maker doesn't demean people. A difference maker leader doesn't malign those that don't think like them. So let's explore that notion a little bit as we work to figure out what's going on in our nation and many nations around the world, and in the seesaw tug of war, and how to kind of look at the middle and kind of say, hey, you know what, how can we come together? And I think that Daryl Davis many years ago had written a book about this when he had met up with the KKK wizard, who had an opportunity to meet someone who had a different skin color, had a different skin color than he did. And one of the comments that the wizard made was, you know what, hatred was cemented in my life from the time I was born. And I learned to build hatred toward people who were a different color. And one question that Daryl had for this wizard was, why do you hate me if you don't know me? And eventually they became friends, and not because it was forced upon them, but because two people, not one, two people decided to give their differences an opportunity as a way to move forward, right? And that's kind of happening nowadays, where people, are afraid of expressing their views and all of that, right? So let's put that in perspective. We don't want to go back to the time where we differed and then we pointed at each other and we hated each other for our differences. Whether it's difference in view or politics or religion, there's always going to be a difference, and there's always going to be a table where we can sit at and make a decision to kind of hear that next person and what they have to say. I'll give you an example. Somebody who is a democratic person, somebody who believes in the democratic views, capitalism and all that, right? Versus someone who is a socialist or somebody who believes the other way. Those are all ideologies, right? That we obtain as we grow up and as our lives encounter people and things as we grow up. And then let's also include in there extremists such as terrorists. Terrorists exist because of hatred, pent-up hatred toward a group or a community. And it can change. People can change. Wars and killings are not going to change people, all right? Pointing fingers and demeaning people is not going to change people. Sitting at a table and negotiating and talking is what's going to make changes. Dialogue. And I find too many people willing to walk away from a dialogue because of their inability to sit down and kind of hear what the other person has to say. So yes, there are those who are stuck in their beliefs, and we should respect that. And there are those who don't want to listen, and we should respect that as well. However, for those of us who like to sit at the table and, look at what the other person and listen to what the other person is saying, we have an opportunity. When we listen, we learn. When we learn, we can empathize. Why is it that socialists think the way they do? Why is it that democratic people believe the things they believe? Why is it that religions are created and that people believe in certain things and they become orthodox in those things and forceful? It is because it has been built up in their mind for years and years and years and years from the time they were born. And so how do we change that? We don't. Internally, we don't. We have to take the approach of, let me let people express who they are. And I've always said that I like what Voltaire said about freedom is, you and I may disagree on things fundamentally, but I will die for your right to express yourself. That's actually good. I believe in that. I will do that as well. I will die for your right to express yourself and who you are. But I want to sit at the table and talk about maybe our differences. Talk about where we differ and talk about where we agree, and maybe come up to a consensus. There's this much seesawing back and forth, and people fighting and walking away from a situation, blocking people on Facebook, blocking on social media. It's easier to do it because people have created a false belief that without having a conversation with somebody who has a difference with you, you're better off with your view. Wrong. There's nothing in the world that is better than having a good dialogue. Even if you're arguing and yelling at each other, you should always think about having a dialogue with the people that you disagree with. Yes, you should consider having a conversation with people that disagree with you. Yes, that's what I believe. If you don't believe that, that's okay too. However, I believe that diplomacy and talking and having a conversation with those that disagree with you is far better than walking away. Why? Because fear creates apprehension and war and strife. Fear can create distance between people. When we fear what we don't know, we get away from it, and we don't want to face it. And so what do we have to do to get back on track is we have to sit at the table and talk to the person that we disagree with and listen to why they believe what they believe and try to put ourselves in their shoes. And once we do that, and if we can't put ourselves in their shoes, of course, no problem. But at least we listened. And at least we had the opportunity to say to that person, you know what, you are important. Your views are important to me. And there are some that I disagree with, but I respect your point of view, and I respect that you can have that right. So today I want to just come in and say that, because way too many people, all right? I mean, even we used to respect a lot of, I still do, but people used to respect, people in power used to respect, for example, veterans. I mean, why is it that some people are now maligning veterans? No. Our veterans are one of the most important group of people in our country, and we need to be thankful for them. Maligning our veterans is such a low thing to do, in my opinion. Regardless of who you are, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a leader or somebody who doesn't understand or whatever position you find yourself in. Maligning anybody or other people because of who they are and their views, it's just such a weird thing to me, such a strange thing. And my hope is that we can turn this around by talking to as many people as possible, by going to the ballot and making a decision based on that. Because what kind of nation, world do we want to be? Do we want to be hateful, or do we want to be a loving, powerful, strong, decisive people? It's up to each and every one of us. We can make that difference at the ballot. Now, if we want to spread hatred, we can make that difference as well. Either we go the good way or we go the bad way, but it's up to you. You go make your choice. What I'm encouraging you to do is to think about what we want our country to look like. And a lot of people say what they want people to hear, but are you interested in making our country and the world a better place to live in? Or are you interested in being and continuing to allow these people the hatred that they're spreading? We need to be a nation of embrace that loves people with strength and power. Strength and power doesn't mean you don't have to be loving and empathetic. And that's all I've got for today. I hope you have a wonderful day.